Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about 6 key signs the fearful avoidant really cares or has feelings in a romantic relationship. So, this is according to the fearful avoidant, right? So I want to keep this in mind as we go through these 6 key signs that different attachment styles may have different expectations from their place of programming. So for example, let's just use the idea of like time spent together. You may have a fearful avoidant who wants to spend like 3 or 4 days of the week together, but also craves and yearns for that like independent side of themselves where they don't always spend all this time together. Then you may have somebody who's anxious, preoccupied, who their expectation is to spend 5 or 6 days together. If the AP is spending 2 days together, or that's how much time they're willing to put in relative to how they usually show up, they probably don't care as much as they might in a typical relationship. An FA, however, 3 days together may be totally on par for the fearful avoidance subconscious expectations and needs in their romantic relationship. So I just want to keep this in mind that it's like according to that person's programming itself. So number one is you will see the fearful avoidant when they do really care, text frequently and often and initiate things. Fearful avoidants tend to be, not always the case, but a lot of the time quite direct and quite willing to take the initiative on things and like express their interests. Not necessarily from a really vulnerable place, but from like an attraction point of view, sort of expressing their interest overall. And you'll see that specifically most so in the dating and honeymoon stages. It may trail off a little bit as some of those fears come up in the later stages of a relationship. By the way, as I talk about stages, we have 6 main stages of a relationship. It's based off Dr. Susan Campbell's work of the 5 stages. I've just broken out the first 2, but we've got the dating and honeymoon stage. Then we have the power struggle and stability stage, the commitment and bliss stage. And obviously, some of these signs that you'll see will be different a little bit, depending on what stage of the relationship these things are occurring at. So in the dating stage specifically, we will see fearful avoidance be like more caring, more open, more direct, and really put their time and prioritize somebody if they really want to see them. So they will make it to dates. They will rarely cancel dates unless, of course, there's an actual like life circumstance that requires canceling. They will tend to text fairly frequently. This tends to trail off later on to a certain degree in some relationships, but you'll see a lot of these things in terms of their time. They tend to be quite available. Number 2, fearful avoidants tend to be very present in relationships. So they tend to be present when they're really interested. And they can be like this with people that they're just interested in general, because they tend to have a need for emotional connection. And that's often a strategy that they use to get their need met that they developed in childhood. So they can be very present, but they will be present for prolonged periods of time and frequently, not just like present as a one-off and then kind of not to circle back around. They'll be present often, frequently. They'll make you feel seen and heard. They'll sort of, be able to really take in what you're saying, listen very actively, ask questions. And it won't be a one-off. It will be each and every date consistently, especially in the dating and honeymoon stage. Again, this can sort of change a little bit as some of the trust wounds come up as they move into the power struggle stage. And if you want to do a deeper dive, by the way, into that, it's Mental Health Month. So we're doing a 14-day trial to PDS, and we have a course called the Advanced Fearful Avoidant course. And it actually talks about how the fearful avoidant will show up in every single stage of the relationship, their tendencies, pain points, and things that they need to work on individually for reprogramming. So if this is you, or if you're a different attachment style, we have the advanced version of all the different attachment styles. So you can check those out and do that all for free for 14 days, as well as check out all of our other courses that we have: attachment styles and relationships together with each other, boundaries courses, codependency courses, all kinds of good stuff in there for free. And the link for that is in the description box below. And also in that 14 days, you can attend. We have webinars every single week. We have group events. We have social events every day, study groups for the courses, all kinds of really cool stuff that you can join in on. So you'll see a lot of that presence, and you'll see that a lot of that prioritizing of time. Number 3, and this is a really interesting one, is that the fearful one will be available when out of sight. So fearful avoidants have this tendency, because they get so present, and it's kind of like driven a little bit by the coping mechanism of hypervigilance at times. They tend to be kind of out of sight, out of mind creatures a lot of the time, where they'll be very available, but then sometimes really not available when they're out of sight. But when fearful avoidants are really interested in somebody romantically, that out of sight won't really create that much of a barrier, and they will have the ability to still be present. So it's a really important one to pay attention to. Number 4, there will be a willingness to be vulnerable. What if your avoidant's truly interested over time? Yes, there has to be like an established building of trust, but like even just if it's a little bit, right? But they will open up a little bit more, be a little bit more vulnerable. Maybe not about their fears in the relationship right away, but about their past memories, past experiences. FAs, when they're not that interested, can make you be vulnerable or can hold space very well for somebody else to be vulnerable, but then kind of be closed down themselves. You'll see this become sort of a two-way street when the FA themselves is willing to be vulnerable. So important to keep that in mind, and definitely a sign of caring and investment in the relationship. Number 5, the fearful avoidant is willing to apologize and take accountability. Is a really, really important sign, because a lot of times fearful avoidants can feel justified in their suffering when something comes up, because usually when they are poked or a core wound is triggered, it is a lot of emotion they experience. But when they're willing to take accountability for their side, they're trying to grow through problems together. It's very easy for fearful avoidants when they feel hurt to just shut down and shut people out. But when they're actually saying, hey, no, here's my part in it, and here's your part, and let's work through this together, it's a sign that they're willing to do that uncomfortable thing, which is continue to put themselves out there, continue to be vulnerable even after a challenging time, as a means to try to grow through things in the relationship as a unit. And so when there's that accountability and apology and ownership of their part, that's a huge sign that there's a big investment in the relationship itself. And last but not least, the fearful avoidant will go out of their way for people they care about and really love, and really, really out of their way. Sometimes to the point where they have to remember to consider themselves and have their own boundaries and meet their own needs too. But they'll tend to really, really put themselves out there, like make huge plans, huge effort, talk about the future, do things outside of their comfort zone, all of it as a means a lot of the time to show love, care, and connection. So hopefully this makes a whole lot of sense. Thank you for watching and for being here. Check out our 14-day trial. Come try some of the courses if you've been interested and wondering. We've got amazing courses, tools, workbooks, events, tons of stuff in there. And thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.